Alright, welcome to what is going to be a filler episode, because we are done with the minis. However, before we get into the next iPods, I kind of want to do a little bit of housekeeping, because, well, this was going to be the next one I did a video on. However, I decided to pull the trigger on a flash adapter for this one because someone on the Discord for r/iPod, and hey, if you want to catch me over there, go right ahead. I sometimes hang out in the chat over there, but somebody pointed me towards a cheap flash adapter for one of these that will take a compact flash card and convert it to work with this. Now, money is a bit on the tight side right now, so unfortunately what I'm probably going to do is sacrifice the mini short term to get this working. This serves two purposes. One, it gets this working, I don't have to deal with it again, because opening this thing up is just going to be a royal pain in the ass. Two, it lets me test it to make sure it all works, because the flash adapter is $15, and then I have to buy another SD card, which is going to be $20, or if I opt for 64, it'll be cheaper, but still, it's not a price I want to pay if it's not going to work. So, that's what we're going to be pretty much doing. I'm waiting for that to get here, and then we're probably going to do a video trying to pry this thing open, and you get to watch me fail. So, let's get into the actual content of the video. That is, the iPod Touch and the iPod Touch. I'm going to be doing both of these in this single video, because, well, both of these are kind of nostalgic devices to me. I already have explained that this was my very first iOS device, and very same configuration and everything. This is more of a nostalgic device from 2009, because back then I waited in line on launch for an iPhone 3GS. This thing is the 3GS equivalent in the iPod Touch line, so using it's kind of like a blast from the past, even though the 3GS actually got iOS 6 and this didn't. So it really is like a blast from the past for me, just using it, feeling it out. It just kind of brings me back to the simpler times, you know? So this also presents another kind of nostalgic bit, because I used to get these touches quite often because I knew people who would go in and buy Macs, and I would say, hey, let me flash my college ID at them and get you a discount and get me an iPod Touch, because back then they very frequently in the summer ran a promotion where if you bought a Mac, you would get an iPod Touch with it if you were a college student. So this one's a bit beefier than any of the ones I had at the time. This is a 32 gig model, and I was about to give it to Ryan, but then I saw that, I started using it, and I was like, oh, I cannot give this up, and thankfully he was completely cool with it. Unfortunately, someone had a Apple sticker on this, so it's kind of, the wear on the back is kind of uneven, but what can you do? So yeah, I didn't have a 3rd gen Touch. I don't believe I did. I do remember very vividly having a 2nd gen Touch. So the difference between the two is this one doesn't have any kind of onboard speaker. It doesn't have the volume rocker, which really made it a lot more convenient. So this thing doesn't even work with most of the apps. I mean, I don't really even give a crap about this. You can download Patreon. It won't even work on this thing, but so yeah, you can hear, oh my god. So you can see down here that iMessage actually works on this. I've actually used this to text Ryan a couple times, and he was actually asking me for advice on the iPod he is currently reviving. He may do a video on it, I'm not sure if he is, but it does work. And this does keep in sync with my phone, so that's super nice about this one. And kind of just using a small device like this, I see why people are so married to their iPhone SEs. Like, this thing feels kind of nice in the hand. Now, you can go to the App Store on these, and I anticipate Editing Chris is going to have a lot of fun here because this is dog slow. So, you can see we have Telegram Messenger, the most current version. It's going to ask for my password. Oh yeah, nostalgic sounds. So we're going to go ahead and try and install Telegram. And this is what you're going to be greeted with. If you download a current version of the app, it's going to say it won't work, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to install it because I've already tried it. I know it doesn't work. So that's pretty much it for this guy. It has all my music on here because 32 gigs. My library is about 18 gigs, I believe. We can go ahead and look here. Yeah, we're using a about half of this thing's storage. Also, hey, old multitasking panel. It also is picking up my iCloud storage, which is super nice. Pretty cool. So that's pretty much it for this little guy. It's nostalgic because it does represent the devices I had after my initial iPhone. Actually, because I started the iPhone on the 3G, my bad. And again, I have the most memories with my 3GS. Like, I love that phone to pieces. I mean, I ended up taking pictures of like fireworks in San Francisco with that thing on a really nice date with my ex at the time. So I mean, it was just it's a phone filled with memories. So I look fondly upon it, and this thing kind of brings me back to when life was a simpler thing. This guy is, iOS. Actually, this is running 3.1.3, because I do believe I mentioned in the odds and ends video that you need to run 3.1.3 on this if you want to have any chance of using it with a modern version of iTunes. You can use this on iOS 1, however, the problem is that most versions of iTunes will not interface with it at all. It won't know how to handle the activation, because yes, these things have to be activated before they can be used. And you may not see it, but the activation is when you plug it in and it says welcome to iPod, and you click next, you tell it what you want to sync. That's the activation for the iPod Touches, because they operate on a very similar system. So with iOS 1, and I know people are going to call me out saying it was iPhone OS back then, I don't care, this will not act. You will have to use something like Xiphone to force activate it, and that plants a nice little advertisement on your home screen. So personally, I am not much of a fan of that. So I would prefer to just have it on 3.1.3 and, deal with it. What is cool is this was made before the ECID checks were being enforced and the firmware signing was being enforced, so you can flash this to whatever iOS version you want that it supports, as long as iTunes is totally okay with it, which is why you would use an older version of iTunes to facilitate that music on it, because it's only an 8 gig device and it's very limited in what it can do. I believe the App Store won't even work. Give it a try. The Wi-Fi on this thing, I thought this was slow. This is worse. It'll take forever to load. Going on the web is pretty much just, it's a fool's errand because it's just that slow. Yeah, it's quite unfortunate, but if we, on both of these even, we have the YouTube app. If we just hit YouTube, it's... Of course, YouTube changes their API more than they change their underwear, so I'm not surprised that doesn't work. Stocks does still work. Weather is pretty dead, I believe. Yeah, update failed on this one. This one's probably not far behind. But even though these are both on the very same network, actually this one might be 802.11g. This thing is significantly slower. So yeah, that's pretty much really all there is to say about these things. There's not much to them. They're just basically the iPhone without the phone. But it's kind of cool that, for all the crap I'll give Apple these days for aggressively dropping older operating systems and such like that, it still floors me that iMessage still works. That shocked the hell out of me. And actually, I remember Noah, before he sent me this thing, was actually messaging one of our other friends on this very device. So to just wrap this up, let's just go ahead and load Safari side by side. Well, let's load up apple.com. And this comparison blew my damn mind when they were doing it at WWDC. At least I believe it was WWDC. I cannot remember for the life of me. But they loaded a web page side by side with the 3G and the 3GS, and the 3GS just smoked the crap out of the 3G, because the 3G just used the original iPhone, the iPhone's specs, and didn't really bring anything other than 3G and GPS to the table. So the specs were kind of getting dated, and that thing ran iOS 4 so badly, and I'm so thankful this thing never got iOS 4. But yeah, this is finished. This is just mercy kill that one. But yeah, that whole thing, when the 3GS was announced to have a much better processor, I pretty much was like, take my money, Apple, please. The 3G is so bad. So that's pretty much it for these little guys. More of a trip down memory lane than a really real look at these. And hopefully you enjoyed the video, and I will see you guys later. If you get the reference, you are one of the cool kids.